Joining us right now with her take on the latest challenges for the Fed is Loretta Mester, the former Cleveland Fed president who's now a professor at the Wharton School and a CNBC contributor. And Loretta, thank you. Look, it's a complicated time for the Fed trying to figure out what's happening in the economy, what's at play. If you were still on the Fed, what would you be arguing to do right now? Lower rates or stand pat?
Yeah, I'm in a stand pat camp. I think that there isn't much cost to waiting at this point. The economy is actually doing pretty well. It's been pretty resilient. We haven't really seen in the hard data much of the effect of the tariffs, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that that may still come. And depending on where the tariffs land and when we know more about where they're going to land, that affects the economy in both parts of the Fed's mandate, full employment and price stability. So I think we should be waiting, or the Fed should be waiting in terms of where they are now. Policy's in a pretty good place so that if things work out well, and they very well could be, if some of the uncertainty abates, if the level effective tariff rate is around 10%, that baseline tariff rate, and we negotiate away some of the high tariffs, and we get some resolution on that, then it could very well be that the Feds will be in a position to go back to the normalization path they had on interest rates that they started last year. Those one-of price increases could just be one-ofs, and that is what the Fed would like to have happen, and then they can go back. But we don't know that yet, and there's a possibility that we continue to have tit-for-tat tariff increases, prices continue to rise, inflation expectations destabilize and continue to rise, and then we have a real inflation problem. So we don't know which of those two will play out, and that's the conundrum for the Fed right now, which is why holding seems to make a lot of sense to me. And then if it turns out later on we have the good scenario, the benign scenario, then they can resume cuts. If we turn out to have the bad scenario, then they're going to have a tough choice between looking at the inflation part of their mandate and balancing that against perhaps much weaker growth and employment. And so that's the problem that they face, but not till later in the year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Goolsbee and Logan are maybe not that far off in their assessments, because you kind of said what both of them said in that commentary. Yeah, it would be nice to be able to cut rates, and if we have clarity on tariffs, then we will do just that. But in the meantime, we're going to wait and see how it shakes out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of like if someone asked me, are rates going to be lower on the short end next year, I would say yes. But I'd love it to be, because we've gotten beyond the uncertainty. The price increases were one-ofs. Inflation moved up temporarily, then starts moving back down again. And the employment effects from the tariffs have not been significant or material. But the other case would be we're going into a recession. So we don't know at this point which of those. I think the weight on a good outcome went up when we got some abatement of the tariffs, or at least stay of the tariffs, and we'll see where those end up. So again, it's balancing those risks as we go forward, and as we get a little more information about how that'll play out. And at the same time, as Senator Rand Paul, your last guest, said, Congress is negotiating on the budget bill, the tax bill. And so that also figures into the outlook over the end of the year and into next year that the Fed will have to take into consideration as well.